What if the greatest achievements of your life required less effort, not more? What if the path to success, clarity, even happiness was not found in pursuing harder, but in learning how to let go? This is the paradox at the heart of Wu Wei, an ancient Taoist principle often translated as non-action. But to truly understand it, we must unlearn what we think action means. Imagine a river. It doesn't force its way forward, yet it always finds its path. It bends around rocks, carves valleys over time, nourishes everything in its way, and it never once struggles. That image is closer to the heart of Wu Wei, a Taoist concept from ancient China. The word literally means non-action, but not in the sense of doing nothing or being lazy. Instead, it points to a way of being where your actions are so naturally aligned with life's flow that they feel effortless. Wu Wei is not about doing nothing. It's about doing in a way that feels like not doing, like water flowing around stones. In its action, without struggle, movement without resistance. The Taoist sage saw the universe as a vast living current. They call it the Tao. When we try to force life into our own rigid designs, we create friction. But when we relax, when we listen, when we allow ourselves to move with the current of things, life begins to carry us. You have already felt Wu Wei, perhaps without naming it. It's that state of complete immersion when you lose track of time, when work feels effortless, when words or brush strokes or movements seem to come through you rather than from you. Modern psychology calls this the flow state. The Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi describe it as the optimal experience, the moment when challenge and skill meet perfectly and we become absorbed in the task. It is the scientific echo of what Taoists described thousands of years ago, accomplishment without struggle. Even in today's world, the idea of Wu Wei lives on in the advice of modern thinkers. In deep work, called Newport shows that true productivity comes not from endless hours, but undistracted focus. Rituals that invite the mind to flow naturally into depth. Think of times when you were so immersed in what you were doing, playing music, writing, walking, or even talking with someone you love, that things just happened smoothly, without you pushing or calculating. That's the taste of Wu Wei. In Atomic Habits, James Clear reveals that the secret of change is not brute discipline, but designing environments where the right actions become effortless. In the book Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle teaches presence, the art of surrendering to the moment where actions arise spontaneously. Philosophers in the Taoist tradition, especially Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, taught that the universe already has its own rhythm, a living harmony they call the Tao. When we try to over-control, force, or resist, we create friction, but when we loosen that grip and move with a natural current, things often fall in place more gracefully. Though the language is modern, the wisdom is ancient. Accomplishment comes not from forcing, but from aligning. Wu Wei invites us to rethink the way we live. In work, it means designing routines that carry us into focus, instead of fighting distraction every hour. In relationships, it means listening deeply, instead of trying to control outcomes. In decision making, it means letting clarity emerge, like water settling after being stirred. And in the face of stress, it means bending, not breaking, adjusting, not resisting. Wu Wei is not passivity. It is the intelligence of nature itself, doing less forcing and more flowing. Consider the river again. It does not conquer the mountain by attacking it. It shapes it gently over time with patience and persistence. What seems soft overcomes what is hard. What seems effortless achieves the impossible. This is the art of accomplishing everything without working. To practice Wu Wei is to trust that life has its own rhythm, is to stop treating existence as a battle and instead treating it as a dance. We don't need to force the music, we only need to listen to move and to respond. When you stop grasping so tightly, you may discover that everything you were striving for arrives by itself. So the next time you feel stuck, remember Wu Wei, step back, breathe, ask yourself, am I rowing against the current or allowing the current to carry me? The Taoist masters whispered across time, the greatest power lies not in force, but in harmony, not in conquering, but in flowing. And perhaps the deepest truth of all is that by letting go, we finally accomplish what matters most: peace. If you like this video, consider subscribe on the channel for more. And let us know in the comments, have you ever felt flow state before and what do you think about it? Stay in peace and be beyond.